You are listening to the People Centric Podcast, where we talk through the toughest challenges that people face at work and give practical advice to fixing those challenges. Thanks for joining our movement to create workplaces that are happier, healthier, aligned, and empowered by putting people at the center of all that we do.
Hey, people-centric leaders, this is Stephanie Anderson, and Happy New Year if you're listening to this right as it airs. We are now into 2026, which is wild. I don't know about all of you, but it feels like the last few months of the year just like screamed by me. It was a faster than a fly. It's like that, that they went right by. And you know, for a lot of us, we take time either at the end of the year or the beginning of the year to think of like goals or New Year's resolutions. And we talk about all the amazing things that we want for our lives in the next year. And that's great. What we often hear from people, though, is that they're like, well, I kind of ended up making a list of a bunch of stuff I was going to add to my life in the new year. And while those are probably beautiful dreams and ambitions, let's be real. Most of us don't have a whole lot of room to add right now. I don't know how you're feeling. And Diana and Philip are on here with me too. I don't know how you two are feeling, but it doesn't always feel like there's room to add things right now.
Have you heard I forget the comedian that does it, but he's like, it's sort of like giving a baby to a drowning person. And it's like, here, hold this baby. Like, I can't hold the baby anymore. I got nothing.
Absolutely not. Yeah. That poor baby and that poor you. Like, who's making these decisions?
I was going to say, what happens if you feel like you're drowning and you also feel like the baby and you also feel like the person that gave yourself the baby while you were drowning? I can relate to being all three of those people.
I love that. I love that because that's kind of what we're going to talk about today is like, what if in the new year, instead of, like Philip said, making yourself the person who's drowning and then trying to hand yourself a baby and launch something brand new, what if you didn't? And we're going to talk today about the power of subtraction. And how we can maybe think about what we should think about quitting in the new year instead of adding. And for some of you, that just made your soul churn for me to say the words quit something.
I literally recoiled and I was like, oh God, there's something very freeing about it and also very terrifying.
Yeah. And I wonder if some of that is how we grew up, because I will often tell the story, and I don't know if my parents like this story or not, FYI, but I don't think they listen to this podcast, so sorry if they do. But my parents let me quit a lot growing up, and I actually feel really grateful for it. So like, for example, if I had to list all of the different like lessons or things I tried as a kid, the list is very long. And it's interesting. Like, I mean, everything from the normal like piano and, Y League soccer. I also took diving lessons as a young child. I was an equestrian horseback rider, which actually that one I did stick with. Art classes. I flunked out of dance class. That one, I think they just were like, you shouldn't keep coming and paying for this. But they would let me quit. And on the one hand, like, I think a lot of people tell you, my parents never let me quit, and that's why I can do this. And I think there is something to that. I also think there's something to not forcing yourself down a path that just is not it, and I think that's where my parents were like, we were cash strapped when we were kids. And so like, if you don't love playing the piano and you don't want to practice playing the piano and we're going to force you to do it, then like, we're not going to pay for these lessons. So just like leave it behind and find something new. But I do feel like that's a little bit of a unique experience that I've had that makes it easier for me to like
give it up. Yeah. I don't quit anything, like hardly ever. I've been a People Centric for 12 years. I don't quit. I just keep going. But I also have like, those personality tests and stuff that we take. Tenacity is always really high up there. responsibility is always really high up there. So for me, I think it's also just who I am. Like, I'm just going to keep grinding until I get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny you said that. I remember, I think the first time I was in the third grade when our school implemented a certain honor roll system. And I was like one of two students standing up with the summa cum laude, right? Which means in Latin, great job, third grader. And ever since that day, there were times as a kid, my family would say, "Come down, like, come down, stop doing your homework, and join us for a meal." And I was like, I have a summa cum laude fourth grade to maintain. And it wasn't even like the stage and the award. I just was like, this is what you do, right? This is the business of a fourth grader, all up until, life things happen. But I love your question, Stephanie, of can you quit? And clearly Diana cannot. That's why you're like this ninja person. You make a goal and it happens. Maybe the goal isn't always partway through, you're like, maybe that's not the one for me. But Claire and I both, my wife and I, but me especially, the last 3 years, I've been on this slow campaign. I'm calling it this like drip campaign of 3 years ago. It was, I just have to say no more often. So no to new things. And if I say yes to something, I made a rule. Like I have to have had to say no to 3 other things. But I got asked to do enough that I still was saying yes to more things. And over time, it started to encroach, right? So this last year, it was a no and then roll off of things. And if it wasn't set to roll off, I had to make the choice to roll it off. And this year, I think it's a little similar, going back to like things you learn as a kid. Before you buy a new thing, or before you have like 3 new shoes or new toys or whatever, new goals, you should put to rest at least 2 others and make space. Because what I haven't had a lot of in the last multiple years is just margin to say yes when it is the next new exciting goal to add on. I think that's a part of it, right? Like you find a new thing you want to do as well. So for me, a quality or a value would be, I want to love the things I do. They're also a lot of work. I don't want to quit them instantly. I want to have the grit, but I also want enough space that when something amazing and that lucky opportunity comes along, I'm ready for it, both with skill and with time. And that is really exciting to think about.
Yeah. And I like how you frame that, Philip, because it made me think, we ended the year in 2025, our team doing a lot of strategic planning with clients across the country. And oftentimes when we do strategic planning, businesses come up with ideas like we should grow, which is good, right? We need to grow because it helps us like achieve our mission, more of what we're trying to do, or maybe it helps us care for our communities better, or frankly, just like be able to pay our teams more and take care of our teams in different ways. But oftentimes, I think the conversation about growth is just a conversation of addition. And I was thinking of a strategic planning we just did recently. And usually before we strategic plan, we'll do a quick survey of the organization's team to understand, like, what do they feel are the strengths and the opportunities? What results should the organization aspire to? We do a SOAR analysis. And one of the comments from their team that really stood out to me was like, they put in like the aspirations box, like, I know I should say we should grow here, and I do want that, but I'm hesitating writing this because it just feels like that will mean more work for me. And so I'm questioning, like, should we really grow? Should we really make that our goal for the year? And I think it's a good question to ask. Or another, client we've worked with, where like, man, they're taking on some big things and they're blazing trails in their industry, and they're doing all kinds of new systems and softwares, which is awesome. It's going to set them up for long-term success. And also, if we really challenged it and looked at our plates, like, how much room is actually left on our plates if we have doing our normal jobs, plus all of the new things that we're adding? What capacity is left, really? Because we know like 100% taken up capacity, it just is a recipe for burnout. We have to have some space. We're not robots or machines. We actually can't do everything. So that's like you were saying, Philip, of like, I have to figure out, like, in order to pick something else up, and at least evaluate, does this mean I need to put something else down? And the answer might be no. You might have capacity. You might look at your team and actually say, actually, I think we can do more. And maybe we've been underutilizing some talent on our team. Maybe we've been underutilizing resources, or maybe there is a real clear lane for us to grow in that wouldn't mean tons of extra work. But I think it's a brave question to ask of like, yeah, before we take on before we set this new goal, does this mean there's something else we would need to put down? Do we need to subtract here at all?
Well, and when you guys were talking about giving things up, I went to like I didn't think of an individual thing. I went to like a theme, like a value or something that I should just like let go that would be easier on my life. And so I wonder if there's something there too of like, this year I'm going to let go of perfectionism.
Ooh.
You know, like maybe I can let that go, and that would make things easier. That would free up some space and some, I don't know, bandwidth for me to just like then give up, you know, then it's not like giving up something. It's not quitting something. It's just letting something go.
Sorry,
And I kind of
I blacked out when you said give up perfectionism. Can you
I know.
one more time?
I don't know if I can do it. I can try.
What? Yeah, no, I love that.
I know. It's like for any of you that are like Enneagram ones listening to this, which I think a couple people on this call might be, that was a really bad phrase to say.
Stephanie, you and I are the same Enneagram.
Are we?
Yeah, we're both 8s. But still, I have a lot of 1 in me. Yeah. But yeah, I think if it scares you to say I'm going to give up a thing or I'm going to quit a thing because you're just like not that person, or you love the stuff you're doing, maybe it's you give up a theme in your life that is
yeah, I really like that. I really like that. Yeah. And when we were prepping for this, you know, we were kind of trying to think about like, okay, it's in the new year. What do we talk about? And a lot of times it is like, oh, you know, set goals for yourself or pick your word or intention for the year, which I think are very helpful activities. And if you do those and they help you keep going. But one thing I was saying I've been looking at more lately for myself is just like tightening in on like my personal values and maybe instead of a specific goal, because those values would tell me what I need to move forward on and what I would need to like let go of or quit or put down. So like one of my closely held personal values is bravery or courage. Like I go back and forth on those two words. So for me, like if I am practicing being brave in my life and in the world, that means that sometimes I have to quit something or I have to say no, or I have to be willing to say like, be honest with myself or be honest with other people that like, I can't do that or I can't take that on, or sometimes being brave enough to say like, no, I actually don't know that. Like I have never done this before. I don't know how to do that. And kind of not letting the ego get in the way there of being brave. And so for me, like focusing in on my values, it's not just, oh, here's the things that I care about. It's like, what would I be willing to kind of sacrifice for?
Yeah, I think when we think about the new year and coming into that and building goals and all that stuff, we to your point, think about, okay, I got to grow, I got to change, I got to add. But I think it would be important in this moment to stop and take stock of the things that aren't serving you. And I don't know that we do that us as humans. I don't think we stop and say like, okay, this thing is no longer serving me, or this has served its purpose, or this is an old theme that I don't need to hold on to in my life anymore. And I think if more people stopped and just said, what is not serving me anymore? What's no longer serving me or serving the purpose that it originally set out to serve? I think we could easily then decide what to give up and what to put down and what to put aside. But taking stock of that might be the first step.
I agree with that. And I would love for maybe us to talk about, because I know Diana and Philip, you both will have those conversations with yourselves too. And we have that conversation as a team at People Centric. We've stopped doing things and we've stopped different service lines or different products at People Centric. And maybe we can talk through like, how do we determine what is not serving us? Because I think that is a deceptively simple question. And so sometimes it's easy to tell what's not serving you because it's actively hurting you. right? That's maybe one way to tell. But sometimes there's other things that maybe we haven't really realized are hurting us or are draining our energy or resources in different ways. So I'd be curious to like hear from you both too of like how do you determine what's not serving you? And maybe from like both a business and personal perspective, we can kind of look at this.
You know, I think this year, well, for a long time, I've had this motto. I don't know if I would call them values for myself, but way long ago, for me, three words that I really just attached to are in this order. I would say it's in this order on specific of like the order of operations for Philip, how I want to maneuver in the world is to listen, consider, and serve. And that could be just me by myself, me for myself, me with people, a team. I think if a group of people listen and they're good at then considering and serving, I think that leads to really good outcomes. And serving could be leading, guiding, creating, whatever you want that to look like. For our team at People Centric, we talk about engage and then build focus and then build accountability. And so one personal area where this has happened for me, and I probably don't always talk about this very openly on our podcast or in our professional settings, but last year in 2025, partway through the year, it was a heavy year for a few things, both, with our clients and then for just personal things in our household. And there was a day for me, I realized on a specific Sunday morning, this doesn't always happen to me, during a liturgical prayer, which I just find so beautiful, there was this thought that came to mind, and it was just, you know what, Philip, I used to pray for love every day. I would pray for love for specific things, for specific people in general. And I do think while I'm positive, there's just a natural care that comes that is really important. And I don't think that's all on me. And I had not prayed that prayer for a really long time. And so just in this prayer of confession for something totally different, it came out like, when was the last time you prayed for love? And I shared that just with one of our team members here months later when they said, hey, oh my gosh, it's not like I was destroying our team, but I was different. There was like a crunchiness that was happening, still being charming and amazing and effective. And months after that, I was like, you know what? For me, very, very transparently, that was an answered prayer and it's still there. And I remember to pray that prayer way more often now. And it does serve me differently. I either appear different. I think there's more going on as well where that is genuinely helpful. On the professional side, I think it helps on both of those, right? And so not just that love is the answer, but it genuinely is. For me, it is. And then that can lead to profits and strategy and all the other fun stuff we do too.
Yeah. Well, to your point, I think what you think about, what you focus on, you achieve, right? So if you're focusing on love, you're going to achieve more love. And I think that's something that we don't think about very often. Like if you're focused on anger and hate and vitriol, that's gonna manifest in your life. Stephanie, the question you asked, I take a much more logical approach to how do you take stock of something, right? I have an annual planning meeting in my family as well as at work. And in my family, I have categories. We have like relationship and health and finances. There's different categories. And within those categories, we'll then say, is this a cheerleader activity or is this a vampire activity? Meaning, is this uplifting our spirits or is this draining our spirits? And then we can kind of say like, okay, this used to be a cheerleader, but in the past year, it's turned into a vampire and I want to get rid of it, right? And so we kind of take stock together on like what's building us and bringing us joy and what's sucking our souls. And I don't think I don't think we do that in the moment. Like we don't do it while we're at the thing that we're out that's draining our souls. But when we come back and look over the year and say, do we still want to continue doing this in this category? Then it's like, oh, no, actually, this isn't what it used to be. And I don't want to do this anymore. Okay, great. We can get rid of that. And do you want to replace it with something else?
I really like that. Yeah, I really like how you just like described that process. I would say I'm probably somewhere in between the two of you because I think I do have those moments with myself, like you were describing, Philip, where it's like, if I'm able to sit with myself a little bit, I can probably be honest that maybe like I'm not being exactly who I want to be, or maybe on a personal level. And so, yeah, what do I need to adjust and change with that to be the me I I know I am, not as who I aspire to be the me I know I am. And then also to your point, Diana, Andy, my husband, and I will like kind of do a similar annual inventory of like, yeah, what are we doing? Like, what takes up our time right now? And like, are we still happy with that? Are we happy with this list? And if not, then we need to make some adjustments. And we both, again, with one of my values being brave, sometimes that means asking people in your lives a brave question. When you notice they're starting to do things that like are draining them and maybe they don't see it. I know Andy and I, like, again, we have a very psychologically safe relationship, but like we can go to each other and be like, kind of seems like you don't like doing that, and I'll be very transparent on. Andy did one for me earlier this year. I was serving on a board and it was for a really wonderful cause and lots of good things, and all the people were great and everything was wonderful. And I would get off every call, and Andy was like, every time you get off the call, you do like the deepest sigh I've ever heard. And then you come to me and you kind of are venting about that meeting. And he goes, and I've heard you do these meetings because some of these meetings were happening on weekends. And so I'm doing Zoom calls at home, and he was hearing them. And he was like, it's not that anything horrible happens in that meeting. I can just tell it is like, it's a vampire for you. It is sucking it from you. You're not being able to like pour in the ways that you want to. And I was like, oh man, you're right. And that was really hard to quit because, again, it was a fantastic cause. All of the people were wonderful. Nothing, quote unquote, bad happened. But it was just one of those moments of realizing, man, like, if I'm going to do something like this, I want to feel like I'm bringing life into it. And we also know, like, leadership is just influence at the end of the day. And so I'm sure I'm not showing up as well as I would like to in these meetings either, because I'm not feeling it anymore. Like, I'm just not feeling it anymore. And I need to step away. And that's the piece where I would say our team at work does that really well. And I think we're all very brave and honest. And, one of our values being truth as an organization is sometimes we have to look at what we're doing and say, hey, every time we go to do that thing, our whole team like groans, or we are like feeling like we're drawing straws for who's going to take that activity this month. Why do we do that? And I think it's just taking that moment of not just like discomfort doesn't mean you should quit, right? Or being tired doesn't mean you should quit. Being burnt out doesn't mean you should quit. But I think it's a moment to ask yourself the question, like, why are we still doing this? And I think we do that well as a team to say, okay, why are we still doing this service then with clients? If we're all dreading it, it's taking a lot of time, maybe it's resource heavy, why are we still doing that? Is it because one of our other values is impact? Is it making an impact? And so if it's still making an impact, then maybe we need to rethink how we do it. Maybe we need to like assess that product and find a different way to deliver impact in that area. Or we've looked at things before too and been like, oh, wow, actually, like maybe it's not making an impact and we accidentally got stuck in the like, we have to keep doing it because we do it, or we're stuck in that sunken cost fallacy because we can remember how much work we did to put that together. And it's hard to let those things go sometimes.
Yeah. I love the act of taking stock to make your goals better, right? Like, I think as you were talking, I realized that the act of just intentionally deciding if it's good or bad, or if you want to keep doing it, or if it's fulfilling, also then helps you refine the goals you're going to actually go after. And I think unintentionally, I was doing this every year because I don't not hit goals. I set a goal and I don't give up. Like we were talking about that before. I don't give up. And so I think when I set the goal knowing that I can do it, that I have the space for it, that I am energized by it, and that it's something I want because I've already done this, like, take stock of the other stuff thing.
I think I wonder too, and I don't know, I've actually never asked you this, Diana, though I have an assumption here, but you probably write it, you and Jimmy, when you do it together, when you do it for yourself. I know when we do it as a team, there's like an element of writing these things down as well. And I think, not all Herzog goals are built with a prayer and a liturgical moment. We use different systems and strategy too. But for us, whether it's, like drawing circles, sometimes for us, if we're just trying to see what on our plate is most helpful, like the inner circle, we put in only 5 things. And we say, these are the 5 most important things for the year. And then a wider circle around that. And it kind of reflects people, organizations, whatever that is, to kind of create like the map of our actual circles. We'll then like list out what our resources are and then the goal for the year and however we want to write those out. Everyone probably does it differently, but I think that is just a small thing that we've seen when people and organizations, whether you're doing it for one person to 10,000, if you are not writing these things down as you're thinking about them, whatever that needs to be for you, a whiteboard, a napkin, your thoughts, then I don't think you can capture it either, because we have so many ideas as people. And Diana often says, right, you don't rise to the level of your goal, you fall to the level of your system. So I think a part of what we're talking about is like your system you use to decide if your goals are effective, your systems you use to measure impact are really, I would say, more important than your goal itself, right? And so just some ideas, maybe you all have spoken to this too, but anything else you would say that's a helpful system tool when you're taking stock or actually building that goal? Because we can all make goals, but then how do we like decide if they're the right ones?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked a little bit about this on the podcast in the past, but Jimmy and I, my husband and I, we sit down not just annually and like make the goals. We have a monthly meeting. It's a family meeting that we do monthly. We have a spreadsheet that has all our financial stuff on it. We look at that every month. We run the numbers every month. And then we also have a separate tab that has all of our goals. And so we review those and say, what tactics are we using to reach these goals? And they're all in different categories. I think it's like finance and health and relationship and friends and family. And like, we create goals for all of those important pillars in our life. And then we look at those each month and we continually over the course of the year decide if it's still important, right? Is this goal of, making the dog work out still important, right? No, he's a dog. We don't have to do that. He's fine. We're still trying to get him to live forever, but he can probably not go on a 5-mile walk every day. It'll be fine. So we do check in and just sort of say like, is this throughout the year, is this goal still serving us? Has something changed? Have the circumstances changed? Has the world changed? Has our jobs or our focus changed, right? And if so, what do we do to bring it back and say, is this still important? And do we still need to do this? And is it still serving us? So we use Google, whatever Google is, Google Sheets, Google Keep, Google, whatever that is. And just we intentionally set the time. And I think that's an important piece of it too. Not just writing it down, but creating the intentional time to sit and do the thing and focus on the things that you said you were going to focus on. It's that purposeful, intentional set time.
Yeah. I agree with all of that. I will also say that's way more structured than what I normally do, but yeah. I love it. I love it.
I mean, my husband is also an operations person. So like our house is very orderly, we have a system for everything.
Yeah. Man, I wish I had a little more of that gene. Like everything has a place, but like if it wants to be there, I don't know. Like
the biggest problem is if you set it there one time, it will be there forever. That's the biggest problem. If you ever want to move something, God save us. We can't.
Oh, see, yeah, we're Andy and I have enough of the like creative spirit in us that things kind of just happen sometimes. But I'll say, Andy and I do, similar to a business, we have like an annual sit down where we just talk about, like I was saying earlier, our year and what's gone well, what didn't. We do look at our finances at that time, and then we just kind of talk about like what do we want next year to look like. And so we may not be setting like super specific goals. Sometimes we do, but sometimes it's just like, yeah, like we want another great year. And so like what would that look like? Would we go on vacation, and what would we save? What are the things we'd want to do in our lives and community? And I would say like when we were talking about this, it made me think of like if there's someone listening who's just like never done this before, or honestly is just like New Year's resolutions and all of this just feels like hooey, like you just got to live your life day by day. I hear you, and I relate to that some days. Some days you just got to go with it. I would also say, direction is purposeful. And I think a good place to start, if you've never done it before, or maybe you mentally resist this a little bit in your life or your business, is just again, like sit down and make a list of all of the things that are important to you. So start with just like what's important to me in my life. And then the next list I would make is like, how am I spending my time right now? So make a list of like, think of your normal week. What is taking up your time every single week? And then compare those two lists, because you might have some things you might want to adjust when you look at them. And now we all know work is, for most of us, is going to be a big part of what takes up our time, which is, I think, why it's so important to feel like you're doing work that feels purposeful in some way to you. And purposeful could mean like it serves the purpose of paying my bills and feeding my family well, right? Or it could tap into that deeper purpose of like, I feel really fulfilled doing this work. But I think like making sure it can be both. Hopefully it is.
You like your job. Yeah.
Hopefully it is. But I think that's where I would say like start. And I think too, if you're a manager listening to this, or a business owner working with your teams, you can do the same thing. So sit down and think about what are the things that are important to you as a business or as a team. Like what are the things that are important to you to accomplish? And then take a real honest look at how are you spending your time right now? And are we actually putting our efforts toward the things that are most important to us or would make the biggest impact? Or have we drifted, right? Because we chased this opportunity or that opportunity, which happens. It's so natural. But yeah, do we maybe need to give those things up to create more space on our team to do more of the things that are really, really important for us? So maybe that means you need to quit doing something. Maybe that means you need to set one goal for next year instead of a 10-point strategic plan that's going to go in this massive binder that when we ask you this time next year, you won't even remember what you said. Maybe you pick like one goal that you're going to hyper focus your team on this year.
Yeah. And if you yourself, or you hear your team thinking, I'm too tired to create goals for next year, you know what you got to do. You got to subtract some things. You got to do what Stephanie was saying and like take the stock in what you're actually doing and what's important. Yeah.
Well, I have enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully those of you listening have too. Like I said, we want to just take a little bit of a different approach to kicking off the new year of like, how do you assess and evaluate? Maybe you need to quit something. Maybe you need to put something down, or like you said earlier, maybe you just need to let it go. So maybe it's letting go of things being absolutely perfect, right?
I'm going to try. I think I'm going to make that a thing.
I like it. I was talking with one of our clients the other day, and I know he'd be comfortable with me saying this. Like in our conversation, we talked about how for his team, perfection is the enemy of great.
Oh, I believe
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Because I feel like you hear people say perfection is the enemy of good. And when those of us who are perfectionists are like, good is not good enough.
Yeah. But mine is perfection is the enemy of done. I can't, if it has to be perfect, I can't get it done. Right. Like it's never going to be finished.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. For their team, I think it's perfection is the enemy of great. Like this actually is probably pretty great.
It's probably great.
It's probably great.
Great enough.
You should just do it. Just launch it.
Just try. And if you have to fix some things later, you can fix some things later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what if you made it a goal of like, what if we were better at like tuning up those things? What if we were really good at just solving problems this year?
Yeah. That would be a great one.
We just got better. at the blocking and tackling.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
So I'll say it on the podcast. I am going to let go of perfectionism. I'll let you know next year how it went.
Tune back in 2027.
January 2027 to hear how Diana failed at letting go perfectionism.
Oh. I'm sure you're going to do great.
I can do better. I can do something. I can do some, which is more than I've been doing.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm gonna let that go.
I like that.
I like
that. I know I need to like think about mine. Like as we were recording this, I'm like, I need to think about my stuff. I need to do my annual check-in with myself.
It's time. Yeah.
Good.
Well, thanks for leading us through this.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm happy to hear you and Philip's perspectives on this. And hopefully this was helpful for you. If you have any questions or as you are listening to this, you're like, oh my gosh, like it would be really great to have a coach to talk through some of this with, whether it be for your life or your business, or like, oh my gosh, my team needs to hear this. Send this to your team. It's free. Have them listen to it and let us know if there's a way that we can help. We'd love to help you think through your team or your organization and how you guys can be focused on the right things in 2026. Yeah, listen to the outro for how to get a hold of us, and thanks for being here.
Thank you for listening to the People Centric Podcast. We are so grateful for you joining us every week. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Also, feel free to share on your social media with everyone that you know. It really does help us. If you would like to contact us, I have put our information in the show notes. Please reach out anytime. We love hearing from you. We will be back next week with a new topic. Until then, be well and lead well.